when we make our sex lives about a cause, somebody else's idea, and not about the experience that you have, man, it's impossible. It's impossible for you to have a good experience. What got me fired up about this is that one of the guys in my groups, a really sexually active guy, older gentleman, he posted today about getting a rape charge put against, or a rape complaint filed against him by somebody. He hasn't been charged or anything like that. But the thing is, man, this is totally screwed up. And how he breaks it down. And, guys, we don't know how to react with this. We don't know how to act. We don't know how to, this is totally a new thing, or maybe not so new. 10 years ago, these types of things were actually happening to me. And I'll get into that a little bit. But I don't want to make this about a cause. I don't want to make this about us against them. I don't want to make this about women and men and the rape culture bullshit. That is part of the problem. When we make that to define our actions or something outside of us, and for men, the men's rights movement, for women, the whatever feminism or these different ideologies, like this is what fucks us up. We need each other. Okay, we absolutely need each other. We need to connect with each other. My life without women sucks. A woman's life without men, man, that sucks. Like we need to connect, and we should be connecting. There should be nothing that divides us. But let's break this down, and I'm pretty passionate about this because this shit's happened to me. But again, the general message is we need to connect, people. We need to connect with one another. That is the most beautiful thing, and we can't get away from that. But let's go to this. So he basically says he went out on a date with this girl about a month ago. Wasn't really that interested in her, but they got wasted. They got drunk. And what's wrong with that? So nightly, everybody gets drunk. I don't drink anymore, but that's because I have a personal problem with drinking too much. It sucks. But, it's like they got drunk, they hooked up. Okay, they didn't have sex, but they hooked up. They passed out at his place. She left and went home. He didn't call her because he wasn't interested in her. Fast forward to now, today. A little bit over a month after that, he gets a call from the police department saying that she thinks he drugged her. And, the cops talk to him, and this is the crazy thing, man. Cops are not bad people, but look, if you don't get charged or anything, cool, no big deal. You talk to the police, they helped you out. It's, a casual conversation. But man, let me tell you, if this charge goes any further, that conversation will fuck you. Get a fucking lawyer. Get a lawyer. This is what I always say. If you don't get a lawyer that you spend your entire life savings on, you're going to get a lawyer and then they'll fuck shit up and you'll have to sell everything that you own to hire another lawyer to fix it. So, and that's terrible. That's a terrible position to be in. Again, I don't want to make this about politics. But where I'm coming from with this is part of my story. And this actually really is upsetting because men and women need to talk about this. Women and men, if you have a bad sexual experience and you get rejected, that doesn't mean the world ended. That means that's what happens. That's what happens to me. That's what happens when you're looking for love. That's what happens when you're listening to your body and you're saying, I want to get laid, and it doesn't fully work out. Rape is a fucking terrible thing. And let's go back to my story. When I was 18 years old, I was a virgin. My first girlfriend, I was at the gas station. I walked across the street. And when I did that, the two guys that I had seen and interacted with as soon as I left kidnapped my girlfriend. They gang raped her. They drove her all around and totally fucked her up. And 5 hours later, threw her out of a moving car with little to no clothes on. And we found her then. Actually, this is an interesting thing about cops is that the whole time when they robbed the place, a cop. I was 18 years old and I was hanging out with one of my friends smoking a cigarette. I was getting some tacos actually at the restaurant across the street. A cop started harassing me as the alarms were going off in the gas station that were, they believe, triggered by her or the assailants ripping out the cash register machine. And they were actually raping her then and there because they raped her there first, threw her in the car, and then took her on a ride all over the city. It was totally fucked up, right? Okay, so we stay together. We go to counseling. She gets all these STDs. I get all these STDs from it. Terrible. It's like I only had sex for 2 weeks. it was just a totally fucked up situation. Okay. After that, after we broke up and there was a lot of trauma that was involved in it, I didn't date anybody for 3 years. I was totally sexually traumatized all the way through my 20s. I was. And then, I started to normalize and regulate out of that with a lot of therapy, a lot of work on myself and for her as well. We actually didn't talk for many years, but guess what? 16 years later, through DNA evidence, the cops finally caught the guys. But check this out. For 16 years, there was no justification in that. You know what I learned from that? We got no justice from that. You know what I learned is that how I healed from that experience and how she healed and what we talked about later on, when we did start interacting again, was that how we healed from that had nothing to do with a fucking political movement, a fucking cause, your empowerment of your femininity, the lack of identity that you might have as a woman or as a man that you need to post up and fucking fuck somebody's life up. Like, that is not what worked. Like, think about this. For 16 years, these guys who did this like horrible shit to her, it didn't really affect me nearly as much as her. Man, dude, the solution came from acceptance with ourselves. And we both actually went different directions. When those guys were finally caught, she was like, no, man, fuck them. Like, I want justification in my case. And she has every right for that. And for me, and obviously it did not affect me in the same ways as her. I mean, it was torturous. She had a gun to her head and just really, really violent, brutal crime. Basically, I was like, you know what, man, they've been in prison for a while. Looks like they're going to be there for a while. I don't know how I'm supposed to interact with this and so on. But that being said, again, that's a personal decision. That isn't a political thing. I don't want people to make laws about that. I don't want that to affect your decision and your life. What I want you to do is to decide things on your fucking own, man. And fast forward to more modern times, 10 years after that, I have a relationship with a woman and we're both crazy. I mean, we're both, I have a lot of addiction history in my past. It was not a great time in my life and I accept a lot of responsibility for this. But this girl I have kids with, when we broke up and I got involved into the dating and seduction scene, which can be ridiculous and stupid and all that sort of stuff. And it's, it can be misogynistic and all those things. But what does she do and what is justified, by her? And I mean, from last time, I haven't talked to her in years, but to the last time I talked to her, was that this was okay. She made rape accusations upon me and not only told, my family, my friends, and caused this big uproar about it. And most people realized she was crazy, but she actually went to different groups to post about myself, post about anybody who she knew that I was associated with, that was involved in this. She vandalized people's cars, my stuff, would destroy my property, all that sort of stuff for years, okay? And this was okay because she was passionate, because she was, had been wronged in this sort of way, because I didn't like her. Okay. And fast forward even a couple of years after that, which this was all still continuing, made sex abuse charges on myself or towards me on my kids. Those eventually got thrown out. Actually, her family did that. But in total support, and one of the things that got it thrown out was I had to record my kids talking casually, saying that mom and grandma told me to say these things about dad. It's totally fucked up. Like, God, why can't people get over that? Fast forward even more, makes child abuse charges on me. Those get entertained. It's a fucking horrible experience. Look, guess what I got from all of that? Guess what I got? Okay. What I got was that it does nothing for me to be angry at her. It does nothing for me to persecute her. It does a lot for me to stay away from her and keep her out of my life. And it's a totally fucked up situation. And, it's a hard decision to make of how to deal with everything. But what I got from that is that people are good. I need to connect with them. And if I hold on to hate, if I hold on to anger, if I hold on to all this sort of stuff that is like resentment and having other people make decisions for me and my, men's rights activist buddies who don't really give a shit about me, but give a shit about, my story and how it might affect their cause because they don't have a fucking identity for themselves to follow it. But found a great spiritual path. I met many, many different teachers. I met many people to talk to, and was able to have a good life from that. And that all came from calming down. So that's a very important message, and it's kind of sad because, when a lot of this stuff started coming out, with all the feminism, men's rights stuff, and, a girl that I had interviewed who is like a whatever dating coach. I mean, I guess so many people got in some argument about what people were posting on my Facebook. I don't necessarily have these thoughts. So I went on her Facebook. And they were like, I've been brutalized and I've been victimized by men and, I've been hurt. And I'm like, man, I've been come out with a knife. I've been, like hit. I've had my shit destroyed. And they were like, sure, that's happened. No, man, that shit has motherfucking happened to me. That shit has happened. My life has been fucking, I was never raped, but my life was decimated. I don't see my kids. I don't interact with them. I have had mountains of legal fees that I've had to pay because of this. Even my story about, this was with somebody else who is, this is why I do not talk to crazy women anymore. But we had a relationship, some fucked up shit happened. She decided to write an article about me and then twisted my story. This is so fucked up. So my girlfriend, when I was 18, had been raped and kidnapped. And, I told her something about the first time we had sex before she got raped. 2 weeks before she got raped, the way I had sex with her was in a group setting. It was totally bizarre. I lost my virginity in that sort of way. It was fucking nuts, man. And I was, terrified and freaked out. Man, in that fucking article, you know what she wrote, which is just total bullshit, is like, she wrote that because my girlfriend that had gotten raped, in order for her to therapeutically get over it, I would stage gangbangs. So is some sort of like, whatever offering towards her. Man, look, let me tell you something. Take some fucking responsibility for your life. Like, you don't need drama to be cool. You don't need drama to have your identity. And for men too, man, fuck, I know this was stimulated by women, but I see men do this shit all the time. What you need to do is learn how to take what has happened to you in your life, what has worked with you in your life, what has affected you, harmed you, done well for you, and stop making that a big deal. And start making it about how can you live in your skin today? Like, man, I am so grateful. And I'll tell you this straight up, okay? I hate the fact that I don't see, my two sons. It's fucking horrible, man. And she's always sending me shit like, oh, here's what they're doing. They miss you. And oh man, dude, fuck. I'm powerless in this situation, but I hate that. But here's what I'm grateful for is what that experience gave me is it forced me to look at myself. It really, really forced me to, I was on somewhat of a spiritual path at that time, but it forced me to really dedicate myself to it. And man, it's made my life amazing. I have so many good things. I'm not perfect, by any means. I don't have like, all this amazing, stuff, but I have the beauty and the extraordinary in the ordinary. It's fucking awesome. And if you want that, if you want peace, if you want to know who you are, if you want to, fucking be happy to be a woman or a man, stop fighting. Put the shit down. Work on yourself. Go out there and experience some stuff. I'm not minimizing rape. I'm not minimizing violence. Those are all really fucked up things. But the solutions to that, man, they're going to come from within. And they're not come from some violent uproar of stuff. I get it, man. Shit's fucked up. Shit's out of balance. Shit's unfair. Okay? But at some point, it's you and your journey. And make it about that.